the Kokopop podcast. I'm Catherine. We've got Caitlin here. Claire is on the other end of the mic, on the other end of the country. And we have a special guest host today. The wonderful.
Hi, everybody.
The
I'm
amazing.
Sean. I blew it. Start over.
I forgot what your name was already. So I was trying to buy time by giving you additional adjectives.
It is. He said it was Sean, but it was with a C. And then you spelled it S-H-O-N.
How do you spell Sean with a C?
You don't.
C-H-O-N-E. Yes, you do.
Chone.
He's a famous baseball player.
It's Chone.
Chone.
I like Chone. I want to put it on the record. I prefer Chone.
He's right there. He plays baseball.
Is that all the same guy in all those photos, or is each one a different one?
All different Chones.
Yeah, he does look different. A lot of them doesn't.
Is there that many Chones in professional baseball?
Oh.
Okay. All right. Welcome back to the third episode. We're on the third episode, right?
Yep.
It feels like so many more of the Kokopop podcast. This is all about EXO, part 3.
Whoop, whoop.
As we were just discussing before we went live, that there may be a part 4. There's just too much goodness. There's too much going on. We have too much to say.
And we're slow learners, so there's that.
And as we probably showed very clearly last week with our discussion of Carl Sagan, is that say it wrong again. What is it?
Chone.
Sean with a C.
C-H-O-N-E.
C-H-O-N-E.
Sean.
He says
We have
it's
a-
Sean.
So I'm going to go back and record that introduction. With us this week, we have a special guest host. You do it. I'm going to keep forgetting what his name is every time.
So with us this
Ladies
week,
and gentlemen, welcome to
The Kokopop podcast.
here we have Catherine, your leader. Sister,
Fearless
Caitlin.
sometimes.
Other sister, Claire.
Hey,
One
hey.
by marriage, one by blood. Which one is it? You'll never know.
It's also a little
I
bit
think it's
weird.
pretty obvious.
Oh, because she's trying to separate herself from us already.
I know.
What are you trying
Like,
to say,
I
Claire?
don't have that.
Dad,
six
no.
guys.
I'm
Distance
with
will
Claire
never
on
keep
this
us
one.
apart.
Also not by blood.
Today we have a special guest, my husband, and if you haven't already sensed a theme with our names, we all have C's, guys. We are the Kardashians with a C. So we had to let my husband in on the fun. He has chosen a C name for today. It's Sean, which is not the traditional spelling. C-H-O-N-E. Or as Claire and I like to say, Sean.
I would like to just put out there that I think that I discovered the Chone name.
Did you?
Didn't I establish that? Was it Claire?
No, I'm pretty sure it was Catherine.
Oh, son of
Was it not me? Did I not find my own name?
No.
It's never you, Chone. It's never you.
Chicharrones.
Ooh, chicharrones.
Is that how you say it?
Yes,
Guess what?
chicharrones.
I also used to say piso vajado meant caution, this is yellow.
I mean, movado maybe, but yellow, I don't know where you get that.
What the hell?
I so really wish I was there to see your face right now, Catherine.
I can't breathe. So, okay, we're going to try to get ourselves together here. Last week, we finished up the music video for Lotto, which means we still have a pretty extensive watch list remaining. Today, I think we'll kick it off with Tempo. But before we get to that point, I wanted to just go over a few notes. Unless you've been living under a rock, or you don't have a Twitter account, you are probably already aware that the month of July for 2019 has been declared EXO month. And I guess we could say that actually kicked off a little early on the 29th of June, because EXO was invited to a reception at the Blue House in honor of President Trump and his daughter Ivanka. They were guests originally invited by President Moon of South Korea, and specifically for Ivanka Trump, who is a fan of EXO.
What?
Yes. So they
That's
had
insanity.
They were all over CNN. They gave signed copies of the album to both President Trump and Ivanka and had a little bit of a chit-chat, and everyone's calling it a great representation of that soft power we were talking about last week, and further
The
kind
greatest soft power.
Sorry, I just want to interject here for just a second, but is it not infuriating, though, that the privilege of being in the White House gets you access to EXO if you're a fan? Which just seems so unfair to all the other huge fans.
Because there are some people out there who would say the privilege of being a Korean pop star gives you access to the president. Not us here at this table.
No.
Yeah, agreed.
White House, Blue House. Doesn't matter. Great house.
Huge.
Huge.
It's not a soft power. It's a very large. It's very large and great.
Hard power.
Hard power.
Nothing soft about my power.
Just like my hands.
Oh my gosh. Oh my gosh.
So you said that it was July was declared EXO month.
Yeah.
Who doth declare?
Is that the way it goes? So, as one might expect, the company that manages EXO declared July as EXO month. So SM Entertainment declared it such.
Government?
No. But they were they were kind of titled as the nation's pick once again, because I think I mentioned in a previous episode that EXO performed at the opening ceremonies of the 2018 Olympics in South Korea. And so they were the nation's pick then, and the nation's pick again for representing K-pop or South Korean entertainment at this meeting with President Trump.
I think when you mentioned about this showing of the soft power, I think that's definitely true. When I saw on my Instagram feed a million videos and photos of them meeting the president and Ivanka, I don't think it looks as good for President Trump.
What? And you mean it
just seems so silly to be going to, I don't know,
meet people from another planet? I mean, obviously, why wouldn't you?
That is true. You would go meet some extraterrestrials if you had the chance.
Also, with the sheer force of powers between the EXO members, would you ever say no?
Could you ever say no?
Could you?
I want to hop back for a second, though.
Do you, Claire?
I do.
Off track.
I love EXO's marketing or brand manager was just like, it's EXO month, but was there any uproar from the other Korean pop bands, K-pop bands about hey now, we would like to be considered for a month, or do they claim other months?
So not that I'm fully aware of, but I don't know that anybody would. EXO is so well loved across the K-pop world, really, that I don't know that any other entertainment companies or groups would even really raise a fuss about it. But I bet you we will see other months declared as various group or artist months in the future. Yeah, but I haven't seen a trend of this in the past, so they might just be kind of getting it. But there's kind of more to the story. The month of July has been claimed EXO month because there is going to be so much happening for the group in the course of the next. Yeah, we have Lay is kicking off a tour on the 6th of July. Baekhyun is beginning his solo debut with a release on the 10th of July. A new EXO subunit. We talked about EXO CBX in the past. Mm-hmm. EXO SC, which is Sehun and Chanyeol, are debuting on the 22nd of July, as well as EXO is kicking off a series of 6 concerts at the KSPO Dome in Seoul at the end of the month as well. And that concert tour is going to be called EXO Planet Number 5 Exploration, which is very fancy.
My very earnest mother, just so they're from Jupiter.
They move back a planet every single time.
Is EXO supportive of their band members' solo careers? It seemed like that would sort of definitively say this person's breaking off from the group, no?
So historically, when a member or several of the members split off into a subunit or do a solo release, they're generally not kicking off a solo career. That's fairly rare, especially in the early years of a band debuting or a group debuting. EXO's been around for quite some time. And they've had other members do solo releases, and they just do that. They do some activities related to that solo, and then they're right back with the band promoting and recording with them. So it's not
it's not a Justin Timberlake.
It's not a Beyonce situation that where once they start their solo career, they're done and they're off on their own.
I do love, though. I was going to say, I do love that Beyonce launched her solo career, left Michelle and Kelly in the dust. But I think at this point, though, they're on good terms because they've come back and had a few shows together. Like at Super Bowl,
right?
and Homecoming.
Oh,
and
yeah,
Homecoming.
Coachella.
No, they're totally on good terms. And
Okay.
especially because Beyonce helped Kelly escape her abusive husband or boyfriend.
That wasn't
Stop.
Nelly, was it?
Girl.
Oh.
Na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na-na.
You know what I hate
That's about that.
You know what really just makes me so upset about the whole Destiny's Child thing is that how much people just crap on Michelle. It's so mean.
No, she's got a
mean-
Christian.
What?
She's got a Christian.
people hate her,
Gospel career.
I think.
Catherine declares, people hate Michelle. She's just trash.
don't
It's
think
been
you
known.
can-
People hate Michelle.
I think they crap on her because she's
I
not
wanted to
known.
say her last name, but I really am not sure.
Oh, I don't know her name. Which
I think she's just known as
might
Michelle.
actually
Not
prove a
powerful
point.
enough to get
It's true because we know
She's not
Kelly
powerful.
Rowland.
true.
Oh man.
I
People
think she
Rowan.
was on one of the CDs that I had in high school.
Who?
Did she
Michelle
have a
Rowan.
song with like
She had one with Nelly.
50 Cent
That
or
was Kelly.
Nelly.
Nelly?
Yeah, Kelly.
I knew that.
Kelly and Nelly.
You know something else that really pisses me off?
Nelly. And how he cheated
Yes.
on Ashanti.
Are
When I
you
lived in
pissed
St.
that
Louis.
Sandstorm isn't popular anymore?
Country grammar makes me so mad. No, when I was in St. Louis, I swear everybody I knew got a chance to meet Nelly. They like saw him at a casino or at a whatever. They got to meet him, shake his hand. Similar to when I was in college. Every single kid from Chicago had met. They knew Mike Ditka, shaking his hand at one time or another. I'm the only person on earth who's never met Mike Ditka and or Nelly of my peers. And it makes me really upset.
As someone who's met both of those guys,
You
you're
son
not
of a
missing
bitch.
much.
We don't
Too
wanna make
sad.
this- Yeah. But, so I mentioned that Schumann, the oldest member of EXO, began his enlistment in the South Korean army.
What did you say? It's
In
2
May.
years?
If you enlist in the army, it's 21 months.
Oh.
Yeah, and then it's like 22 months if you do the Navy or the Marines, and it's like 24 months if you do the Air Force. And I'm going to take that as, you don't have to do more months in the Air Force because it's easier. You have to do more months.
What if it's because sometimes it takes longer to get the hot air balloons down?
This is my deployment into my deployment of 400 feet.
That's what the Air Force consists of. It's just
Hot air balloons.
hot air balloons or just
What
regular
are they called?
balloons. sending over-
Dirigibles?
Mighty, mighty fleet of air balloons.
Was that what they were called?
Just sending over propaganda to
Zeppelins.
South Korea, to North Korea.
What were the early floating devices called?
Did you say Shetlands?
Zeppelins?
Inflate a Shetland pony.
Zeppelins.
I said,
What
what did I say? I said Zeppelins.
You said
Well,
you
I
said something
think-
that sounded like Shetlands.
Well, trademark. I'm bringing it back. I was gonna make a Hindenburg joke, but I feel like it's too soon.
How long ago was it?
Probably not long enough.
I mean, I know
R.I.P.
there's video footage of it that we had to watch in history class in high school, so it was like
It was First World
at
War, right?
least
Probably.
after 1980 when they invented the video camera. So it's too soon.
I don't even know where I was going with that now.
We
I
are
already
going to have
lost
to
it.
fact check all
Neither
of that,
does the
and then
Zeppelin. It
delete
has
if
no
we're
control.
completely
Just
off base.
floats.
I feel like I'm right,
Okay.
but I really do want
That's
to know.
the most important.
I have conviction that I'm like 70% right.
Good enough for
Wait,
me.
what were they called? Were they dirigibles?
Dirigibles?
It was indeed. Look, there you go.
Oh, it was an
It's
airship.
an aircraft type.
Leave it to Catherine.
I'm gonna bring an air horn into the next recording with us and blow it straight. Sorry,
People
Claire.
love that.
I'm just gonna give you a heads up right now. All right. So back to Schumann.
Oh yeah, that guy.
So Schumann enlisted back on the 7th of May, and then we had Dio started his military service on 1 July, and that was very sad. It was kind of unexpected. They gave us a little bit of a heads up, but he's only 26 years old, and usually with K-pop idols, they push it to the very last day that they can possibly be allowed to enlist, just to be able to work for as long as possible. Because generally speaking, after they go and they do their tour,
Their has-beens.
Yeah, it's very difficult for them to come back. Now, Super Junior is it's another K-pop group. They're sort of breaking the mold with that because their last member, they had so many members that it was like a full decade that at least one of their members was always in the military. So their last member just got out, and now they're starting to tour and release some songs. And so, maybe the tide has turned.
Is
and
the
we'll see
mandatory military term specific to men, or is it all?
It's just men.
Just men.
Now, women can join.
They can enlist.
Mm-hmm. They can join the armed services. I don't know if there's some restrictions. I would be surprised if there wasn't, but I'm just not knowledgeable on that. But the mandatory enlistment only applies to men.
Do the women have to do any sort of service at all? Whether or not it's military, but is it sort of like nursing or teaching or childcare like some of the other Schengen countries?
No.
Oh.
Nothing like that at all. There's been a few changes in recent years. Some more restrictive, like they used to let people delay enlistment till age 29, and they brought that back a year, so the latest you can delay your enlistment is till age 28 now. But I believe they created the ability for men to do public service if they are a conscientious objector. So that because they were jailing people who wouldn't go serve. So perhaps we'll see some changes in the future. Obviously, all of this is driven with the fact that they are still technically at war with North Korea. So, the potential is there in the future that this would go away. The only other way you can get out of military service is if you are a world-class musician, but only for classical music.
Oh.
If you are an Olympic gold medalist, you're allowed to defer your military service. So there's been some call through the public for BTS, for example, because some of their members are getting to the point where they're going to have to enlist in the next year. So they're saying, they're bringing in a ton of money, a ton of revenue. They are kind of at the forefront now of international fame and really making a name for South Korea. So people saying, why should this not apply to BTS? But however, it's such a point of pride that there's been some articles written, and I believe they're based off of interviews with some of the BTS members saying that when it comes their time, they will serve because if they kind of let them have that loophole of getting out of it, I don't think that would go well for them across the citizens of South Korea.
Yeah.
On that note, do you think we should kick off our first?
Yes.
I don't know what it is, but I'm in.
Yes. Okay.
Oh, yeah.
Everybody's down.
Chon is ready.
Chon's ready. Tempo is our first video for tonight. So we'll go ahead and mute, and then we'll see you on the other side. So that was Tempo, and Chon made notes.
Of course he did. He studied.
Chon was all over it.
Caitlin, I know you have thoughts. Claire, I'm sure you have thoughts. Let's dive in.
I just felt bad for the one seeing impaired gentleman who obviously didn't get the memo they were wearing super blue contacts.
So I
wasn't even wearing his glasses properly. The bridge was down his nose too far. He wasn't looking through the lenses.
It was granny chic.
It was granny chic.
I really appreciated the mullets and was it not Dio, the mime.
Kai the mime.
Kai the mime.
The crop top
and
mime.
He had
Zombie mime.
really
Go on.
emphasized cheekbones. I saw in one. Like it looks like the makeup was heavily emphasizing his
I'm
cheekbone.
sure.
Don't look at my notes.
He had a unique hairstyle. He kind of had
Hairstyles were
sort of a
crazy.
punk type of shaved
Yes.
side, long
There was a
mohawk,
little bit of
slick
80s
back.
Bowie going on. Some of them looked like they'd been recently electrocuted, and I was concerned about that.
Oh, with
the
Schumann's
frizzy hair.
Oh yeah, his hair was out of control there.
Out of control.
I don't think any of their hair was out of control.
You
It was all in control. There
you
was
love the
so
hair?
much gel there.
Oh.
Literally, not a single hair was not exactly
Where it
where
was supposed
corporate
to be.
bigwig wanted it to be.
You've heard of Big Pharma. Big
There
hair?
is some guy that works for
Texas.
the people that own EXO sitting on the 107th floor of whatever building in Seoul going, I know exactly where every single hair on their head is right now. And that's his only job. He's the head of hair gel for EXO. And it's a pretty good job, mid-level management, probably makes the equivalent of, I don't know, a good solid $250,000 in America, lives a pretty good life. Yeah, probably
A nice
a white
sedan.
picket fence. All of his kids love EXO, but hate the fact that their dad is in charge of just the hair gel.
And they haven't been able to hug him in 3.5 years. Every time they try to just slide right off.
Exactly.
take.
Take it away.
I mean, I thought it was a normal amount of hair gel.
Just an everyday.
Grunging my hair just into position now.
Oh, Caitlin, go get out the Aquanet. Did Aquanet make gel, or was it just the hairspray?
Aquanet actually only made fuel for potato guns.
Little known
People
fact.
misused it as hairspray.
So we have tried that before.
We tried to do what?
When we were at school, there was a house that a bunch of our classmates got, and we just called it a frat. It was not an actual frat.
I thought it was really a frat. And you're like, yes, Caitlin, we understand.
Yeah, we know the concept of fraternities. No, it was because you're not an undergrad anymore, so there were no actual fraternities for us. So we had a fraternity of friends.
Aren't all fraternities a fraternity of
No.
friends?
What if fraternities
Or
are
are
just the friends we
fraternities
made
and
along the
sororities
way?
different? Because I'm pretty sure sororities are not all full of friends.
Hey,
fraternities
that's
were.
sexist. I don't appreciate it.
I actually
I
know
was
for a
friends with
fact
everybody.
Some fraternity friends don't like each other, so there you go.
How could you say that about Chad and Steven?
Blake didn't even see it coming.
Fuck Blake.
Chet is a goddamn saint.
So anyway, they had a themed party that was Jersey Shore themed.
Oh.
So this was back.
Classy.
I know. It was back in 2009 or 10.
Oh, the perfect year for such a party.
Yeah. So
Is there
I
ever a perfect year
think
for
I
such a
spent
party?
like half of a bottle of gel just trying to create that hair look that we saw today. Just every single hair sticking as straight, as far away from his head as I could.
You should have done what they did in
Slicked
Little
back.
House on the Prairie.
What'd they do?
Pa?
Die of measles?
That
It was scarlet fever, and she went
She
blind.
went blind. She didn't die. God, you're the worst.
No, but Charles, Pa,
That's dark.
Mr. Ingalls, if you will,
Yeah,
he had to use bear grease in his hair.
that makes sense.
I'm interested. I'd like to hear more.
Chone in his dreams is Ron Swanson, so this appeals to him.
Oh, nice. Hair gel for men.
That's whale
Made of
blubber
bacon grease.
or bear.
What?
Bear fat. We're gonna have different flavors. So bear
Yeah.
grease, whale blubber,
Mm-hmm.
bear fat. Anything else?
Well, like the oil you take out of a car after you've done it yourself.
Ooh, that's called elbow grease.
I
None
wonder-
of what's happening here is correct, but I love it. I'm
This
going to
is-
roll
this
with
is
it. I will
brainstorming.
put all of those things in my hair.
At once.
I wonder if
It would be
But I
like-
will not go near a candle.
Yes. What were you
Because
going
I
to
don't
say,
want to
Claire?
get Michael
Sorry.
Jackson.
I wonder if that like glorious glossy complexion that they always have is a result of hair gel just sort of slowly
No.
dripping down their faces while they
It's the result of their
I don't
Korean
think that's
skincare
what it
regimens.
is.
What is it?
So, I'd like to talk about the Rorschach test in the video.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
I didn't even see that. What
Oh.
does that mean about me?
Chen? Oh, well.
Because it was really just a butterfly, but also his face. So does that mean he's just really self-absorbed? Because every time he sees an ink blot, he sees himself? Also, I want to clarify. I don't know if there was really a butterfly. I thought I saw one, but it might not.
What is
That's
that?
true. Yeah.
What does that say about you, Sean?
I don't want to. We're not here to analyze me. We'll walk out of this studio, which is my house, and it's raining outside.
Oh, boy.
So I guess we'll stay. But the point is, what does it mean?
Oh, my gosh.
I have another question. It's not as interesting as Sean's question, but so do you guys remember in the video when there's like this deep auto-tune voice drop?
Yes.
It's very intense, but I wonder if there's a little bit of a play on Don't Mess Up My Tempo, because it goes from sort of this andante tempo to something a bit slower.
Oh my
You know,
God, this is where
It's a little play on that.
She's shining.
Your musical
I know,
prowess.
It who knows, guys? It wasn't quite as low as an allegro, but certainly like a moderato tempo. You know.
So what you're saying is when that auto-tune voice came in, that they actually did change the tempo.
I think they attempted. Yeah.
And they explicitly told you
First rule of EXO. Don't
trust extraterrestrials. Look, let's get back to the fact that they changed the tempo when they weren't supposed to, but the only person that noticed it was the classically trained harpist. Or charpist, I believe it is.
Charpist is correct.
in literary,
Cherub. It's a cherub harpist. We're all angels.
Which one of my notes, since you didn't take any, which one of my notes would you
well, it
like
looks
to
like
discuss?
you wrote Green Gatsby from where I'm sitting.
Well, that's because my handwriting is not great.
Everyone got a little thrill out of the dancing mime, known as Kai.
Zombie mime.
Zombie mime.
Yeah.
We're not the only ones that still gets a lot of attention.
Yeah, you seem to indicate that it was the crop top heard around the world.
Yes. Much like Bacon's lip bite in Lotto, this was another thing where just everyone was like, oh my god!
Do you think it's foreshadowing his silence going forward in EXO?
Ooh.
That's
Probably
too deep.
not.
Probably not because he's in a singing group. I'm guessing he's gonna sing.
Was anybody else super dizzy with all the transitions of this video, too? I kind of felt like I was spinning after a little while.
It was
Like,
kind of
There was a lot of fast cuts.
And I was trying to tie it into the theme of the last two videos that we had watched, and I couldn't do it.
But was the dancing hotter in tempo than it was in
I
Monster?
didn't like the dance.
Well, I'd like
It
to
wasn't
chime in
very
on that one.
much. I think because it cut to different scenes so much, it was hard for me to actually see any good chunk of dancing so that I could do a good judgment.
That is
I felt like I was blinded by that very deep hip thrust at the beginning, and then my...
if you want to see hip thrusts, which it sounds like you do, Claire,
Bring me more hip thrusts!
go and search for any live performances of Lucky One, the actual full dance, because all we got was that little snippet of Kai dancing in the hallway on that actual video. I don't think you'll be displeased if you do look up that video later, Claire. So.
Oh, I'm looking at it right now.
If you can find the one where they're in the blue shiny pants. But anything else on this one, you guys?
Stop looking at my notes. Your fault for not taking notes.
Nope.
There was paper, there were pens.
All right.
I'd like to talk about the easiest Rubik's Cube I have ever seen. It was clear,
Well,
and he was still struggling with it.
It was not a Rubik's Cube. It was a puzzle.
Why?
Wait,
Why was he struggling with a
Rubik's
clear Rubik's Cube?
No,
there was the chess game that was all clear.
Then they made it into a square.
Then he had a Rubik's Cube that was totally clear.
No.
Was it
was
two
the
separate
chess-
games?
No, it was
or
the
did
chess
he
pieces.
steal the pieces?
It was a puzzle.
I don't think so. I think it was a clear Rubik's Cube, and he was still struggling with it.
Claire, your thoughts?
I mean, I just thought it looked like Jell-O. Clear
Oh.
Jell-O.
Oh, Jello Jigglers
Is that-
cut in squares.
Is that
I was
ever
waiting for
clear,
the
Joe?
Jigglers.
Jigglers?
I'd like to go to the fifth item of Chone's list, which is foreshadowing.
It's just the word O.
It's not just the word O.
Foreshadowing fatigues, because he noticed that D.O. was wearing a camo jacket.
Hyper foreshadowing.
Yes. How old is this
I
music
believe
video?
Tempo was released on November 2nd, 2018, so very well it could have been some foreshadowing there, because Dio is right in the front. He's not the face of the group. He's not the leader, but he's right in the front at the end in a camo jacket.
Do you
I thought
think,
Lay... Wasn't
he knew?
Lay, like...
or do you think his handlers knew?
Well, no, he made the call because Dio was only 26. So everyone was kind of shocked when he announced, "Say, I'm going to be enlisting next month." But I mentioned, first episode, when we were going through the roster, he's become quite a famous actor now in, international big movies. And there's a movie series he's doing, and I believe that this break for him to do his just slightly less than 2 years of service will set him up to basically film the next in the series exactly when he gets out.
Okay. Well, I'm really excited for our next music video.
Should we move on to Electric Kiss?
Hell yeah.
So we mentioned last time that so these groups will release Japanese language albums. So this is a song on a Japanese album that EXO released January 24th, 2018. So let's go ahead and mute, and we'll see you on the other side. So Claire, what are your thoughts?
I thought the intro was interesting, I can't remember the exact metal band that used that same typeface effect.
That would be Slipknot. They come from the wonderful area of Des Moines, Iowa. All wonderful people. They were just showmen.
Thank you, Sean.
Very, very normal, straight-laced people.
I want to believe everything
that.
you're saying.
I grew up on the same street as the drummer.
Fun fact.
What's his name?
No idea.
That's good.
I liked this song.
Yeah.
Could be potentially one that I would download.
Ooh.
Liked the
rapping?
I mean,
the enlarged sweaters?
I liked all of it. I liked I guess I don't know that it was dystopian. It was just an after destruction radioactive. Ooh,
I'd like to.
Yeah, it has that. It has like a super block look.
The white fur on them; those were special.
Nothing says.
Right, it kind of looked like Alf was doing a Victoria's Secret Angels show, but it was after the nuclear apocalypse, and I'm going to say I'm here for it.
Nothing says surviving a nuclear fallout like a fuzzy suit.
Yeah,
because that's not going to trap those particles at all.
What I love most of like this song, "Electric Kiss."
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's probably more like nuclear radiation kiss.
Yeah. I did notice when they were saying electric kiss, or it's going to be electric at the end, they were all in those tiny little electric cars.
But I never saw the kissing. I didn't see the kissing.
Chen did get pretty close
He blew
with that,
a
like,
kiss.
8th grade science body cutout.
Yeah, the mouth-to-mouth mannequin.
He spotted it at the beginning of the video, and then later on he's got his arm around it up on like the top of a wall or something. Did you notice?
Well, he's the only one left on the world after radioactive destruction.
Gotta have somebody.
It's his own Wilson.
Any port in a storm.
Wilson!
Any storm in a port. Ever thought about that?
I just
can't say that I have, actually.
Destruction, but
I liked the aesthetic. It was sort of like a cross between Canadian cult classic Cube and Saw.
And Chernobyl.
Well,
yes, but there were people there.
Can I call out something
Well,
a little bit? I don't want to say it's insensitive, but I did notice this because they're so fashion forward. They sort of like wear expensive labels, or they're sort of pushing the envelope on their outfits. And here they're wearing sort of tracksuits and some other sort of, I don't know, just it seemed like they were maybe trying to create the like fashion of what came out of like the Soviet era. Like just, I don't know. It just seemed really like it was pointing, like it had a very Eastern European look to it.
Well, his sweatshirt just said anger.
Oh, did it?
I kept looking at it and I was like, because it kind of looks like the New York Rangers logo. So I was like, does he have a New York Rangers? Does he really like ice hockey? So I kept looking. I think it just says anger.
It does say anger. I'm looking at that still right now.
The fall of the USSR was not kind to Schumann's sweater's neck.
Are
you sure about that?
What was that guy? So the thing that I found really weird is that clear coffin-like, who was wearing like a pirate shirt, and he was, and then all of a sudden
Suho
in
is
water.
Spanish for your
was
hoe,
like
by the way.
4 inches of water in
Suho
it.
what?
I said suho is Spanish for your hoe.
Oh, is it really? It means guardian in Korean.
We might want to just edit that out.
It doesn't, because I'm pretty sure hoe in Spanish is not hoe.
So Sue in Spanish is your?
Yes.
Okay. Nice.
They're speaking a different language. Let's talk about the 10 words we know in a different language.
Yeah, but people were very excited about Suho in the wet t-shirt contest.
Yeah.
Because he stands up, towards the end for no reason after laying in it the whole time.
Just how uncomfortable, though, truly.
It's
just Caitlin.
The aesthetic. I mean, I'm just comparing, like, their body types versus, like, some gorilla juice head from the Jersey Shore. And I'm just trying to think of, like, it's interesting how different people appreciate different.
I mean, that's a huge issue right now for lots of Eastern cultures is the desexualization of the Eastern male in modern Western media, and there's been a lot of trying to change that in recent movies and showing that their men are attractive and they can be muscular and they can meet Western ideals, but just because they're meeting the ideals of attractiveness in their country, which they clearly do, and I'm sure millions of screaming Koreans would suggest that they really meet them quite well.
More than just Koreans.
But they also can meet the standards of Western male beauty, which I, typically exemplify. But
I'm not saying anything. I'm not saying that they are not attractive or sexy or masculine in any way. I think what I'm saying is it would be funny to take this into a Gold's Gym on the Jersey Shore and see the defeat in all of the jocks' faces when they're like, oh, the screaming girls are going after these guys.
Oh, yeah. Well, I think some might argue that type of, when you picture a Gold's Gym near the Jersey Shore, that type of body type is not attractive.
Oh, I agree. I think it's disgusting.
To at least as many people as it is attractive to.
For sure.
It goes both ways.
I don't think there's anything wrong with saying this, but I would describe most of these men as beautiful.
Oh,
I wouldn't say, I think we are accustomed to sort of saying an attractive male is handsome, but I think there's the same sort of attraction. I think you can think a man is beautiful and being a little bit androgynous or effeminate and still find that attractive. Yeah. I don't know, but I wouldn't say this look is not very traditionally masculine in the Western sense.
Correct. True. And I would say even the androgynous part is interesting because even in some of the newer groups, newer than EXO, that have come out recently, I think they're pushing that even further. So we'll see that in the future even more so.
I have a question. Mm-hmm. Is there such a push for androgyny in the girl groups?
I mentioned that they have this girl crush concept where the girls are a little bit more in your face or kind of have independence or have a little bit harder lyrics versus what you might traditionally just think K-pop would be for girl groups. There is still this cute concept that's out there, but I think there's been more groups debuting with this girl crush, really a harder feel to it than in the past.
Okay.
So not necessarily androgynous, although there is one group, it's not as active in recent years, but it's called FX. There is one singer in that group, her name is Amber. She's actually Korean American, she's born in California and joined the group later, as a teen. But she has a very kind of androgynous, or maybe even some people would traditionally say it's a little bit of a masculine look, short hair, dresses in kind of very casual clothing. Does not necessarily meet that stereotypical view of what you'd think a K-pop female idol would look like. And so, but she's very popular. Yeah. So maybe the tide is kind of slowly turning.
That'll be interesting to see.
All right. So Claire, anything else on this one that you'd like to touch on, or should we move to Love Shot?
I'm ready for Love Shot.
All right. Okay, so Claire, we will see you on the other side of Love Shot. That was Love Shot, which is the most recent release by EXO, just last fall. Probably their most adult-ish video so far. So what are your thoughts?
Were those guns filled with whiskey?
Or soju or something, yeah.
Yeah.
Except for Kai just randomly having what looked to be a real silver gun at the beginning and pointing it straight at us.
Oh, God.
What did they think they were going to do with those guns against the masses of armed soldiers against them?
Get drunk.
Yeah, I think it was the love shot was not necessarily supposed to be actually the killing of something. But that you're getting drunk on somebody's love, or you are drunk on somebody's love, so they just kind of took it to that extreme. Also, people thought it was really cool to have alcohol inside glass guns.
I mean, I thought so. I was waiting for a super soaker fight and everybody just being drunk, and it never happened.
Have you guys never had hard alcohol outside from a squirt gun? Is that something that you guys haven't engaged in? Okay.
Not for me, unfortunately. I didn't know what
listeners under the age of 21, which I assume is everybody that likes K-pop.
No.
I'm just kidding. you don't need to have anything to drink out of a squirt gun but water.
That's sort of an interesting. I'm always intrigued by the aesthetics of these videos, but with like the super large floral use there, and there was being in sort of at the top of an old derelict gas station, and just some of the other scenery. It had sort of like a almost, I don't know how to describe it, but I kept thinking of a lot of imagery used in Frida Kahlo paintings. Yeah. I was probably unconscious and it was just a pure aesthetic, but it sort of followed traditional Mexican art in a lot of, like, I think that even some of the artwork that they sat in front of looked like what you would find.
I had a similarly deep thought, which was that these gas stations were all self-serve, which means at least we know they weren't in New Jersey.
We've narrowed it down.
The floral arrangements are like all the flowers that they had placed into the trunk of that car. When we saw the shots, it was reminiscent of a floral display or that you would see on a coffin, which I thought was appropriate, being a love shot, and this person is clearly dying of heartbreak because I think one of the words was like something about muted feelings or something like that. So clearly he's like numb inside.
Oh, that's brings like a whole nother. It's interesting. I just thought it was pretty. So it's just like me with the watch in Monster, where I was like product placement, and then Claire was like, "What does this mean?"
I've stopped trying to weave these music videos together into a story about the group.
I think in more recent, I mean, really after we kind of got into that modern era of EXO with Monster and Lucky One and Lotto, and I think that kind of rounded up where you could really push the storyline.
Gotcha.
It seems like anything that kind of has come out that most recently, it's just because it's a really good song. I don't think that you can really correlate it to any sort of exoplanet backstory anymore.
Gotcha.
So what I want to know is that you've got, I don't know any of their names, but the guys that are in the regular clothing, down on their luck, appears like they had some trouble at a casino maybe, whatever, and they're getting attacked by a SWAT team of their own band members.
Yeah.
What is this telling us about the future? Are we looking at some of these other break-off groups? Is this just for the purpose of the video? Is K-pop going to move to somewhere where there's, they're going to try and profit off of intergroup turmoil, whether it's real or imagined? Are you going to have like a face and a heel like in WWE, that sort of thing? Because they were also trying to push towards a lot of Western ideals with guns and liquor and gambling and all those sorts of things.
Well, that's interesting. I mean, up to this point, the push is, even if a band does argue or has turmoil within the group, none of that gets out. Or if it gets out, it's an accident. They're like, we are best friends, we're brothers, they're a family. So it'd be interesting if that does become a thing now, where you can like amp up some of the drama.
And it was a Dio who took off the black mask.
That was Schumann.
He was wearing Schumann.
Yeah, you talked about Baekhyun taking off the mask in Monster.
Yeah.
So when he did that, I was like, oh, it was Schumann this time. Interesting. I wonder what it would have meant if it had been Baekhyun again.
It's impossible to tell who is who with these ultra blue contacts in, because
it makes it very hard when you're first starting to get. Oh, sorry, what's that?
Their hairstyle keeps changing
with each era,
and there's so many of them. It is.
It takes a while.
Yeah.
Usually you find it usually starts with like you kind of hear a song, you like it, and then watching the video, there's like one person that kind of sticks out, and that's what you'd call your bias, because you're like, oh, I really like that person. Who is that sings those great notes or has that great visual? And so once you kind of establish like an anchor point in the group, and it's like, oh, I always recognize at least that one, it kind of starts to be like, oh, now I recognize this one because it's not that one. I believe I would honestly have to say the same thing with a large boy group or girl group of Western appearances. When you have that many members, I think that I would always have some confusion, especially if you're watching videos over a significant amount of time, where not only do they grow and mature physically, they are changing their hair colors, wildly different styles of different things from year to year.
And we already talked about how popular plastic surgery is.
True, there has been some discussion about that. Most of the idols have their plastic surgery if they have it prior to debuting. I don't know that there's anyone who is like an active group member who is going and having plastic surgery like midway. And I know that's not what you're referring to,
Yeah.
just as for the sake of the podcast. But you're right. I mean, when you're looking at even the roster of photos from their debut days, there's a certain look there, right? And that is that Korean beauty aesthetic, just like we have in any other country in the world or culture.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
And right now we know
It is maybe, it gets a little harder.
I'm testing my EXO knowledge right now.
Mhm.
I'm thinking back to Tempo. Was it Baekhyun who had the lavender hair? I'm pretty sure Baekhyun's the one that I would recognize among all of the band members.
So, if you're talking about the one that was wearing the glasses, or
Yeah.
like in the rapping, no, that was Chanyeol.
Damn it.
Chanyeol. Yeah, Baekhyun was the one who Caitlin mentioned counted to 1, 2, 3 with his fingers, but then didn't really move his mouth at all. Sehun was the one that had kind of the extended rap at the beginning, sitting at the bar, which was cool because that was probably his longest speaking part in any of the EXO music videos or songs up to this point.
Got it.
I would say Baekhyun is outside of Lay, but Lay is so rarely ever in any of the music videos that Baekhyun is probably my next favorite. So I usually spot him right away, even just from the beginning.
But wasn't Lay, he took like a hiatus because didn't he do his military service and came back?
No, so Lay is Chinese, so he doesn't have to do any military service. But
Oh.
we mentioned last episode that there are so many political tensions between China and Korea right now, and it all stems from Korea introducing this THAAD ballistic missile defense system that for a time China basically banned any sort of K-pop tours, music, activities, anything. So Lay had been just working on his own solo projects in China for a number of years, and he's so unbelievably popular there now that that's kind of continued. But I will say people were very excited yesterday, as of the day we're recording on the 1st of July. Lay flew in to Korea just to see Dio off before he enlisted.
Aww.
And then there's a bunch of pictures out on social media of him running with his manager through the airport to get on a plane back to China because his tour is kicking off. And everyone was very excited because that was the first group photo that we'd had since, I think, 2016 of all of them. So, any other thoughts on Love Shot besides the fact that there were shirts missing? Quite a bit of many of the individuals were not wearing any shirts underneath their suits. Which,
I'm just not used to that stylizing. Like it was like 80s style, but a little bit sexier with the
it was an interesting aesthetic, because for sure people were very excited about it, especially Kai. I think Kai is also, he's like the face of the group anyway because he is very good looking, but the shots of him by himself in his suit, like the promotional pictures, I think he's actually wearing like a 3-piece suit in them if I recall correctly. So he's wearing like a red vest, then a red suit, but no collared shirt underneath. That was wildly popular last year, and then through the the heavy promotional period of this one.
And I think I noticed in this one and maybe another one that at least one of them had an ear pierce, but it was like kind of like the long, and it was very reminiscent of George Michael.
Oh,
And like the earring.
Definitely giving me George Michael. Yeah. I was also thinking, how crazy were these guys wearing like winter coats in a convertible in what clearly was the desert? That was just pure fashion choice there. Not practicality at all.
Yeah, they layered up.
Yeah.
I think just to really round out our tour of EXO, I want to share, just to show what true performers these gentlemen are, and to give you a taste of the subunit EXO CBX. We're going to jump down to one of the dance practices, specifically the one for Blooming Day. What do you say, you guys?
Let's end with dancing. I like that.
End with dancing.
Blooming Day.
This is such a fun video to watch, and it really shows you like how unbelievably talented the guys are.
All right.
We'll go ahead and we'll mute, and we'll see you on the other side.
Shorty, I'ma party till the sun down.
Well, next one started playing. All right.
Guys, I must be a purist, but this was the first time watching EXO that I was like, holy hell, these guys, they've got serious talent.
Oh, yes.
Because I think the camera work and the cutting to different scenes, like, they've got so many scenes, so much going on that it's hard to actually pay attention to the choreography.
Oh,
Yeah.
hell yeah. You can see
This
all
is
of them.
almost one
They're
continuous
tight.
take.
Yeah, they had a few cuts on this
There
one.
were a few cuts, but it was, and they tried to hide them, but it was
Yeah.
almost a continuous take.
Because generally in the dance practices, they're all just one continuous take. That's why I mentioned a few times for different videos that they have some great stage performances, or there's a couple dance practice, like I've linked here, but there's other ones as well. They are so great. because you get to see the full choreography and you just get to really focus on just how talented they really are. This is not just a group that auditioned at a mall. Looked pretty. They're like athletes almost.
Yeah.
Another thing, because there are those bias members that people have, there are performances that you can type in, like EXO, Blooming Day, for example, Chen Focus, and they cut it so all you see is Chen through the whole performance. So you can really focus on your member. And if you ever or if there's pieces of the choreography that you really want to see, that is a great way to do it as well. Because sometimes even with the backup dancers, there are other things going on, and even some of these pared down performances. If you really want to be able to focus on your member, that's the way to do it.
Yeah, I did notice, I guess, the main singer of this. Yeah,
Well, the one with the hat? Or wait, they all had hat. The beanie or the baseball cap?
I think he had a baseball cap.
There's
Chen.
multiple baseball caps and beanies in this
yeah,
video.
that's true.
This
Well,
part.
so one thing that you didn't get to hear, Claire, that I mentioned to them, is only the 3 in the white shirts are the actual EXO members. Everyone else in the dark shirts, they are backup dancers.
Oh.
Yeah, so this is EXO CBX, so it was just Chen, Baekhyun, and Xiumin.
Oh man, so they're the power stars of the
Yes.
dance group.
Yes.
Okay.
I'm sorry that
Got
I should
it.
have said that before we watched it.
I'm so sorry I didn't know that. It was just so misleading with the number
I
of
know.
other dancers
Well,
there.
hey, another excuse to watch it again.
I
Or the
noticed,
video, the actual video for it is really well done. Totally different style than EXO.
One of them, the one in the baseball cap, stop and do kind of a solo trill. And
That was Chen.
Okay, and I noticed for the first time, because I was able to see, he stopped and he's singing this part. Oh, that's a really good voice. And then I paid attention a little bit more and noticed that he was also doing a really good job dancing. And so that's where, because I told you earlier that we watch Kyle Hanagami choreography all the time, so I'm used to these professional touring dancers watching this. And I was like, oh yeah, this is on par. But then when you think about it, you're like, oh no, they're on par with professional dancers who that's their livelihood, and then also having really good vocals at the same time. That's rare. So that was impressive.
Oh yeah. Well, I mean, Caitlin, do you think that there was much better lip syncing in this one? I was paying attention to that, and
Not necessarily. One of them kept dropping. I feel awful. 2 of them were much better at lip syncing through practice than one of them. He kept dropping.
I would say it's like 50-50 with dance practices and through all groups that I've seen. Whether they just lip sync a few of the words or don't lip sync at all and just do the dance, or someone who lip syncs through the entire dance practice. So that's not so unusual to not be even pretending that you're singing through it.
But Chen was better. He was really emotive when he was doing his parts. So I did, yes, in that regard, it was better.
Sean, any thoughts from you?
Yeah, so I was interested in, and I don't know which guy he is. I don't know any of their names. But one of them had a shirt with a guy's face on the back. I couldn't tell who it was, but the undershirt that he had on under it looked like it had the Anarchy logo.
Ooh.
It was an A in a circle, and then I couldn't tell who was on the back of his shirt, and I don't know if he's trying to make a political statement, or maybe it's something that I have no clue what it is, but I'm a little interested.
All of our tens of listeners are going to go back and watch that. Go frame by frame.
The sharpness of the movements, and my eye is always drawn to Baekhyun in this video because he is one of my favorites, and I'm always blown away with how fast they can move in some of those parts, or just how intricate the choreography is. Just down to like things that you don't. The head nod.
Yep.
The part I think that they kind of like point down and back up, and then the other people react around them. The part when they were kind of walking back and forth, and Baekhyun was kind of doing some background vocals. He was kind of walking, even though the other ones were kind of bent over. Just little things like that really give the video so much depth, and I love it. It's something else to look at every single time you watch it.
Can I share one of my most favorite videos online is the breakdown of Mary Poppins' Step in Time. That choreography, if you can, do you guys know that scene in Mary Poppins?
The new one or the old one?
The old one, the original, the one with Julie Andrews and Dick Van Dyke.
Yeah.
That choreography is absolutely bonkers. Like, bonkers. And there's 2 professional choreographers who break it down, and they're just like, holy hell. Like, this is insane in terms of what everyone is sort of doing in like a continuous movement. If you want a real treat in terms of complicated choreography, check it out. You'll have a fun appreciation for, and Dick Van Dyke, who is a movie star, not a dancer, just nailed it in terms of how he had to learn those intricate steps, and it's just pure athleticism. It's super funny.
Oh, yeah, I'm definitely going to watch. I love hearing the background story behind things like that. Even if it's something I'm not necessarily interested in on the face of it, actually getting somebody walking you through what it took to build something, I love that.
Dick Van Dyke also is kind of from the era when actors also, I mean, generally, if you were famous, if you were at least a double threat, if not a triple threat, like you had the ability to do, I mean, because his singing wasn't half bad in that.
And he played the old man.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah, didn't you know that?
No.
Old man.
Bookwear.
Tuppence man.
Yeah.
Steely
Dan.
Steely Tuppence man. All right. Well, what is your overall take of EXO? I'd like to hear what your thoughts are. Would you be interested in ever exploring more on your own, or are you kind of ready to just move on? What are your thoughts?
I think it was great to open with them. I think it's especially great this week to see that they met the president and everything. And it just kind of puts it into a more global context and realizing, wow, yeah, they're really big. And the songs are catchy. They're super talented dancers. I can tell you that I'm more interested in watching their dance practices probably than their actual music videos.
I do love dance practice. So for our podcast listeners out there, having worked for the opera, like nobody really appreciates all that goes into it unless you kind of have a good understanding of either the story or the dance or the set design, all the stuff that goes into making it. And I think the dance practice videos really shows you just how much planning and choreography goes into sort of an ensemble group like that.
It's like a machine. There's so many pieces apart.
Yeah, I think that sort of builds an appreciation that sort of makes you more curious about the videos and sort of maybe some of the other artistic decisions or symbolism or anything, if you even want to go that deep into what they're doing. Just sort of like allows you to acclimate more to a big group, since there's 12 members in this band, and sort of finding kind of who you're drawn to rather than jumping in immediately being like, what am I looking at? I don't know.
I tend to probably incorrectly think that most, at least American artists of recent years, have been like almost accidents. Like, oh, they recorded their own music and posted it on their MySpace page, and then so-and-so picked them up, and they just kind of stumble into it. Now, don't get me wrong, there's inherent talent in that individual to be able to get themselves that part, but, you know, what we hear, at least of South Korean music business, is from a very young age, they take them in, they train them for years, and then they very carefully manage every single thing that's released, every single thing that they say, personalities that they sort of assign to members or roles. And it makes me wonder if the American or other Western musicians are not equally as controlled, but we're kind of sold this thing of like, oh, they were doing this in their basement or at their church, and they just have such a love and passion for music, and they just kind of do it on their own, and then somebody discovered them playing outside of a bus station or something. You know, I wonder if we're kind of being sold a different background story because nobody's supposed to like want to be famous. It's not felt as genuine in America if you're famous just because you wanted to be famous, or I don't know.
Well, so like, how do we feel about artists like Kelly Clarkson, who basically went on a television talent show, American Idol, to win, but now she's like been in the business for 18 years, and I feel like she's holding her own, right? Like, she really sort of deservedly won compared to being discovered, put through the machine of sort of seeing if you fit the mold, and like nobody ever hears from those artists, really.
But it's not a question of whether or not someone was put through the machine, because in general, the people that are going up through that had some direction that was being forced on them or other things and stuff like that. So it's more an issue of vertical integration, right? The South Korean K-pop is totally vertically integrated as a business model from birth until the end, and it's an antitrust thing, whereas here it's segmented into tons of different things. I mean, you look at, there are so many pop stars that started in very conservative at their church, that sort of thing, where they're being brought up singing and doing all those sorts of things, which is probably in some ways very similar to what's going on with the youth there. It's just that the Baptist church in somewhere in Alabama that is doing it in the United States is not part of the corporate conglomerate that they end up in with Warner Music or whatever. So I think it's the same thing. It's just segmented and it's not all controlled by one entity like it seems to be in K-pop.
True.
Well, so I kind of moved us on before I meant to. Sean has some late-breaking news, looking up what it was on Chen's shirt. So going back to the Blooming Day dance practice, I wanted to let him have his time to shine here. He got down to the details.
Yeah, I went to a website called kstylefiles.com because I'm into this.
The source of all
They
great
had a
details.
post from Monday, April 23rd, 2018. EXO CBX's Blooming Day dance practice. Chen, the guy that I was apparently talking about, is wearing a BA Alive tee from Buried Alive. I clicked on that link. Don't understand any of the language that they're using on that page, but it was an Anarchy t-shirt from Supreme Undercover. So, I don't know. That's kind of a political statement.
Can I see the picture? Are you able to see the man face? The face man?
Oh, the face man? The face man? If I
The man
click
with
on
the
the...
face?
Yes, if I click on the link to the buriedalive.kr, it's this person here. It says "Back from the Grave" on the back of the t-shirt.
Oh.
But I have no idea who it is.
Oh my gosh. It's Kelly Clarkson. We've gone full circle. Oh, it's Justin Guarini.
Oh, Jesus.
Holy shit. No, that's interesting. I wonder who that is. It looks like somebody's being like mutilated.
Looks like they have a needle in their forehead.
Yeah. Ugh. Just the thing I want on the back of my shirts.
So I'm sad as this means that we're done with EXO.
Mm-hmm.
But this also means that we need to spin the wheel of choices.
Yes. So, since we've finished our tour of EXO, we get to spin the wheel to see which group we dive into next time. And I think it's only right that our guest host, Sean, does the wheel spinning and does the announcement for us. What do you think?
Absolutely, I think so.
All right, let's do this. So he's getting ready. He's getting his spinning fingers ready. Spinning.
NCT, Red Velvet, BTS, Blackpink. It stops on Blackpink.
Oh, wow.
I'm so excited.
Yes, that's a fun girl group to dive into next. I think that
I'm
gives us a
excited
little
to
variety.
see the contrast between
Wait,
the
I
boys
gotta
and
be the
girls.
guest host for the dudes,
You
but
can do
not
it
for
Blackpink.
Blackpink?
No, you can. You are welcome anytime.
Come back for Blackpink.
We'll look them up.
All right.
Blackpink.
Well, I'm so excited to dive into this. I've heard good things already.
Yeah, we went to their concert earlier this year, so we've got some insight on that front. Blackpink.
So, I have a question as I'm looking up Blackpink for our next episode, which...
Blackpink in your area.
There's only 4 of them.
Mm-hmm.
So are the girl groups typically smaller than
No.
the boy groups, or is this just a special
Just their
group?
concept.
And is that because these 4 are so good that they don't need more members, or they just don't get along with people,
Oh my
or they
gosh.
couldn't find
I
other
think
people,
that these are
or
great.
will we just find out
Yep.
on the next
think we'll find
episode?
out.
I think that's
I
a
think
great.
we'll find out.
Well, I'm excited.
Yeah. So we'll see a lot. We'll see the whole span of it. But I just wanted to thank you, Sean, again for joining us. Thanks to you, Claire and Caitlin, for joining us. I know this week is a little bit of a scramble to get everyone on, so I'll just finish up with some business. Please check us out on our Instagram or Twitter. Our handles are kokopop_podcast on both of those sites. You can always send us an email at kokopop.podcast@gmail.com. So we'll round it out here. Claire, once again, thank you. Caitlin, thank you. Special guest, Sean, thank you so much.
Always a pleasure.
We will see you guys next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.